guys joining in. Appreciate you guys listening. We're back for another space. Do me a favor, retweet the space, reshare the space. Let everybody know we're live. We have a lot to speak about, and we have a. What was the biggest piece of news? Oh yeah, the big piece of news is that, do you remember the Iranian missile that was fired towards Kuwait? Well, we heard that it didn't hit and not much happened, and Iran didn't really speak about it. Well, now we got information that just one missile, end up causing 5 casualties of US soldiers. So 5 of them had significant injuries. CENTCOM seemed to claim that those injuries, all 5 of them, happened due to debris as opposed to an actual strike. But what, you're telling me 5 got hit with the debris? It's highly likely that the 5 were hit, and the injuries were caused by a direct missile hit. This was despite the fact that the Kuwaitis did try and stop the missile. So that was the first big piece of news. The second big piece of news is that the US fired at a vessel on the Strait of Hormuz. It wasn't an Iranian vessel, but apparently the Americans are claiming that it was going to an Iranian port. They said they disabled this commercial vessel, whose flag wasn't Iran, and I did have the name of the flag, and now I just can't remember it. But it was like a smaller country. So that's the 2 major pieces of news right now, and then let me just give you the overarching news, and then we'll get into it. So the overarching news is sorry, have some water. Okay, so the overarching news is the ministry advised all mariners to keep a safe. Oman's Ministry of Defense issued an alert today after a suspected naval mine was sighted in its territorial waters in the Strait of Hormuz. Hezbollah just struck an Israeli tank convoy advancing into Dabin in South Lebanon, with at least 6 IDF casualties, including 1 person that was killed. So significant amount of casualties. Iran's army spokesperson and the foreign minister spokesman Ismail Baghai held a joint meeting today to declare they are more coordinated than ever. They're ready for any form of US strike. Oh wait, I forgot to retweet the space. 1 second, let me do it. So guys, retweet the space, reshare the space, let everybody know we're live. Let's try and get as many people in here as possible. I'm just gonna retweet a lot of the quote tweets. Let me just check, totally forgot about that, and then I'll link the YouTube as well. So thanks to Chris Mead from New Zealand. I want to come New Zealand at some point. Brent, Hussein, Juban, Art, Lilp, it must be Lil P, Marlies, Balal, Ibby, Kenneth, Tyler, and Albert. Thanks to everybody who retweeted and quote-tweeted the space. Oh, Andrew's as well. Sweet. Just seen his retweet as well. Quote tweet. Okay, let's bring this guy up as well. Okay. Yeah, guys, retweet the space, reshare the space, let everybody know we're live. By the way, later after the space, we've got a few great interviews. We've got Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Aguilar, Lieutenant Colonel Karen Kowalski, Kwiatkowski, and we've got that Unit 8200 guy, Ben something or another. So yeah, it's gonna be great. Great interviews afterwards as well. But anyway, retweet the space, reshare the space, let everybody know about live, and let's try and get as many people in here as possible. Okay, 1 second. Okay. Okay, cool. And bring some people up. So let me give some more pieces of news. Turkey, yeah, this is Bill. Trump tweeted said someone should explain to the Pope that the mayor of Chicago is useless and that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. This is once again Trump attacking the Pope. Would he dare to attack the head rabbi? He wouldn't even dream of it. He wouldn't even dream of it. Okay, that's largely a big part of the news. There wasn't much. The news is a bit more scarce today. But yeah, let's see what the speakers are gonna say. Let's go to Andrew. Andrew, thanks for joining us. Hope you're doing well. How are you?
Good evening, Suleiman. Good early morning to you. Your time here, you're coming on morning hours here. Yeah, doing well, sir. Doing well. We are seeing it play out like we called it. We knew we'd see some kinetic action back and forth, right? The escalate to de escalate, the back and forth is this insanity just continues. The United States clearly, Suleiman is showing itself right that it's lost this. Iran is in the driver's seat. Thank God. Iran's not going to concede. They're going to hold the line. And I'm for one, and you know how I feel about this. Iran needs to have a nuke. Iran needs to be nuclear capable of possessing nuclear weapons. Without that, they're going to be bullied around again and again, and it won't stop. It's mutually assured destruction in this. It's this evil world we live in. Without being able to have it's like the bully in the playground until someone can stand up to it. Look at North Korea. Of course, I'm no fan of North Korea, but North Korea makes it clear, don't mess with us. And and I was watching the latest. Like we had Larry Johnson on. All of the military experts are pretty clear on this. That Israel, we all know that Israel is the mad dog that's off the leash, and America, for some reason, has not put it back on the leash. We should, but it hasn't. So it's clear that's what's driving the problem. And Pax Judaica, the only thing standing in between Pax Judaica and a reasonable geopolitical realm of nations working together is Iran right now. And that's what's so interesting is how Iran, a country that has stood alone, could be the only thing standing between this. I recently today spoke, I had a 2 hour conversation with a very dear lady. She's a brilliant scientist, she's Iranian. And she believes and that sadly that things she's heartbroken that things aren't back to the way they were in the glory days of Iran before all this happened. And I made it as best as I could in care, patience, that what most Iranians out there and many living here in the United States don't realize that they're don't even realize it, but they're siding themselves on the wrong side of this. And I'm trying to stay out of the politics of it, but just look at good versus evil. Anyway, I won't go off on that, but thanks, Suleiman. Thank you so much. People, folks, please support Suleiman's work. It doesn't matter how much, send some support in there. And also repost and share. Get these videos out there, share them. And huge congrats, my dear Suleiman. You hit the 10K. That's amazing to hit 10,000 on your channel, and you just started it. I mean, come on, man. Come on, Suleiman. I've had a channel. I've been working it for years, and I've been doing everything possible. I'm slowly just kind of climbing up in numbers, but because of the content, the great speakers, and Suleiman, I know I'm glazing. Okay, I've got to glaze Suleiman here. But Suleiman, truly, God is my witness. By God's grace, because of your ability and your education and your hard work, the speakers that you're able to get on, the experts that you're able to get on your space, that you're able to interview. And I'm not talking about some people will land a great interview, but they don't know how to ask the question. So they kind of just let it go. But you're able to engage it. And more, I'm noticing like Larry Johnson, I know that when I watch Professor Morandi and I see Colonel Aguilar and Colonel Kakwaski, they really, of course, Colonel Davis, he's another one of our favorites. They love to engage and interact with you because you know how to ask the right questions. And we're getting the truth out there step by step. Keep fighting a good fight, Suleiman. God bless you. Love you, dear brother. Keep fighting it. And folks, if you're not reposting and sharing the space, believe me, you're not helping this. So do that part. And thank you so much, Suleiman.
Appreciate you, Andrew, as always. Really appreciate your kind words. Let's get into the conversation. Let's go to Andy. Andy, jump in.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that five U.S. soldiers were hit just from a missile that was supposedly intercepted, so I guess it would either be the falling debris and stuff, should tell all of us that we know the fact that they're saying only 13 have died total from this war is utter BS. Like, we've seen all of these massive explosions at bases and stuff, so if five are getting injured just from some shrapnel, all of these direct hits that we have seen footage of and all of the hits that we probably haven't gotten footage of on military bases because we're not going to be getting video from a lot of these bases shows that this 13 dead number is obviously utter BS. Like they reported the 6 dead in the drone strike in Kuwait day one, but there's obviously when we've gotten the New York Times and CNN saying half of the bases are not now uninhabitable, like come on, we know more than 13 are dead. Unfortunately, I mean, none of us want to see soldiers die. It's horrific. Deaths in war are absolutely tragic, but they're covering up these deaths because you can't have half the bases be destroyed. They weren't empty. They were using them to launch attacks. So you have people that are refueling planes. You have people in barracks, etc. You have pilots, etc. So it's unfortunate, but they're covering up deaths, and this just confirms that if a shrapnel can cause this damage, imagine how much actual hits are causing. So this just adds more fuel to that speculation, and eventually that truth will come out down the line, but they're going to probably release more accurate numbers after the war because someone, independent journalists, someone will investigate. Eventually, we're going to get more footage from those bases because they're either going to withdraw from the region and that will just confirm that hey, all these bases are destroyed, or they're going to have to ask for a funding request to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars to rebuild the bases, and people are then going to be like, why do we need hundreds of billions of dollars? I thought Trump said Iran did a minimal damage. So they're going to be caught in a lie one way or another when we withdraw because there's no bases left, or they have to pay to rebuild the bases. And this is slightly off topic, but there's an interesting election going on. I'll make this one quick. The Iowa Republican governor primary, there's this guy, Zach Land, he's running on a platform opposing data centers and opposing selling off Iowa farmland to corporate and foreign interests. And he actually took a slight lead in the polling. So naturally, Trump endorsed his APAC backed opponent, Randy Feenstra, because they can't have someone become governor that's opposed to data centers now, can they? So we'll see what happens now that Trump weighed in on the race this Tuesday in Iowa, because I mean, Iowa is an important state because it's the first state for the Republican primaries. So they obviously can't have a Republican that's more America first, anti-data center, become governor, because then he could then end up backing theoretically an America first challenger to Vance and Rubio. If this Randy Feenstra guy wins, he'll never become governor because polling showed him down 12% to the Democrat nominee. But Trump, I think, is just trying to sabotage the race to make sure in America this Randy guy becomes the nominee, to make sure that the America First guy, if he became the nominee, can't win. So because he's actually anti-data center. And again, you know how they need their data centers for the digital gulag Palantir. And it's just fascinating how, and again, remember, Trump said, I don't care about the midterms. So they don't care if a Democrat wins. They just don't want someone who actually cares about tackling the corporate interests from winning. So the Republicans don't care if a Democrat wins. They just don't want an America First guy winning. It's just they're playing their political games, trying to set the deck up for 2028.
Let's go to Jubba. Jubba, jump in. What's your thoughts?
Good evening, Suleiman, and thanks for bringing me up. It's nice to be here, as always, on the space, following you, and for everybody here, please repost and retweet the space and follow Suleiman and all the great speakers that are on here. And yeah, Suleiman, where are we at? I think there's a little bit of kinetic stuff going on, as Andrew spoke about. My feeling is that we're not, and I know you're not sort of so sure of this, Suleiman, but I don't believe we're going back to sort of full-scale kinetic kind of war between the US, Israel, and Iran. I think we're going to have this sort of small fire back and forward in and around the Strait of Hormuz, and of course the whole process has really become an economic kind of war, a war of managing the oil routes, the LNG gas routes, and that's what we're seeing. And as long as the strait is closed or
Your
partially
mic's
closed,
not great, Jubba. Great, Jubba. I
can
thought it
you
was
hear me
me,
now?
so I put the volume up and it's still not great.
Bro,
Can you
how
hear
do
me
you
now?
guys even understand these Irish people?
What? Yeah, you understand it just as Mike. A little bit mute, a kind of a muffled sound, Jobber.
Can you hear me now?
No, it's the same.
It's the same. Okay, I'll drop out. I'll drop out.
No problem. Thank you. Okay, Andy. Actually, let's go to Andy about this one, and then we'll go to Andrew's view on it as well. Andy, what's your, just actually first of all, public, how you doing? What's any thoughts?
Hey, what's going on? Do you want to wait for me to get to a quiet area first, and then you come back to me?
Yeah, cool. Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, Andy. Question to you is: you heard the report about the Beatrix mentioned it yesterday as well. The American army and the Israeli army merging. A congressional bill has been put forward for that. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I actually commented under Massey's post because Massey said he'll try to stop it, and I said anyone who supports this is as big of a traitor as anyone who sided with as the people who sided with the British in 1776. We decided 250 years ago we will not be ruled over by a small country overseas, and Massey liked my reply. So Massey agrees that yeah, this is 1770, like a 1776 moment, and that's exactly what this is. Our founders did not fight for our freedom only for us to be ruled by another tiny island country overseas. I mean, they're not an island, but it's the same thing. You couldn't criticize the crown. Oh, you can't criticize Israel. you had to pay taxes to the crown, or taxes go to Israel. Our army had to fight for the crown. Our army has to fight for Israel. It's the exact same situation. And the fact that so many people think that, oh no, Israel is a great ally. It's like you had, I believe the numbers back then were about 20% of the American colonists were sided with the crown. And I still think it's upper 30% still thinks has a favorable view of Israel and has sided with Israel still, which is absolutely disgusting. And I mean, those numbers are going to keep going down. I mean, as more and more people find out about this, I think favorability for Israel will drop, because that, I think that more people that were like, no, I think you have your genuine shills for Israel, like your Zionists, which is like a hardcore, like half the Republican Party or evangelicals. But then there's other people that are just brainwashed and think, no, that's not true. But I think maybe that number will drop a few more percent if this takes off. Like after Candace starts talking about it, and then all these other big accounts with hundreds of thousands of followers, like Shadow of Ezra, all of these accounts really start digging into this over the next week. After Tucker does a show on it, I think that will wake more people up to it, because these people have
What
reached.
Tucker's doing a show on what?
I said when Tucker talks about this, because he'll definitely dig into this.
Oh,
That
you assume he's gonna talk about it? Is that what you said?
yes,
Or he's planning to? I'm trying to understand if you said he's
no,
already.
I said I assume he will, because
Oh, okay, okay.
because he's been going and talking a lot about Israel. This seems like something he would talk about. And I mean, and hopefully someone like Joe Kent releases a statement, and because he's been talking about how he wants, like, don't get me wrong, I don't think Joe Kent's going to probably turn around and back Vance in 2028. I don't view him as some viable political solution. I think but at least I hope Kent at a minimum talks about this, because Kent's been saying like, hey, we need to restrain Israel. So I hope Kent at least says, like, hey, this is the opposite of restraining Israel. We shouldn't be getting more in bed with them. We need to be distancing himself. I hope he at least makes some tepid, half-assed statement like that. Like, I don't view any of these people as some perfect savior. I don't think anyone's a perfect savior. There's no hero. There's no George Washington. There's no Kennedy coming to save us. It's about slowly eroding support for Israel over time. And if their support goes from 38% down to 35% because of this, that's a win.
Cool. Beatrix, thanks for joining us. We've been going for like 5 hours. Where you been? Still not yet.
I've been I've been taking care of my group that I founded, Moral Resistance. I've been working on that a little bit.
Well, I don't know which group this is because you're not part of any
I'm
legitimate
founding
moral
member.
resistance.
Andrew and I were founding members, weren't we, Andrew? We were founding members of the
No,
Moral
no,
Yes,
Resistance.
no.
ma'am.
Andrew is you're not
Oh,
we read your application, but we didn't. It hasn't been accepted, so it's still in process, Beatrix. Still in the process. It probably get rejected, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But Beatrix, do you want to add anything about this merging? Because you mentioned it yesterday, right?
I did, and I see people listening in the tunnels then decided to pick up and do space on it, which is very good, very good. I'm happy. There's a couple of bits I want to add generally in news anyway, Suleiman. So I see that Netanyahu's secretly negotiating with the judiciary in Israel that in exchange for dropping the charges against him, he will withdraw from political life, like literally. So what he's saying is, I won't stand for election again if you drop the charges against me. Like, what kind of a deal is that? I think if he stood for election again, he would never get elected. He would never get elected for a variety of reasons. Even the Israelis have been against him for a long time. And this is not to do with the genocide or anything like that, but it's to do with the state that Israel's in economically, financially, this war on Iran, sirens going off, hiding in bunkers. They don't like that lifestyle. They're a bit pampered. So they hate him. So he's basically saying, I know if I stood for election, I'm going to lose anyway. So I tell you, I won't stand, but drop all charges against me. So that's the first bit of news. The second bit of news, which I'm hoping every Israeli has read and reflects on, every single stock on the Tehran Stock Exchange closed green today. Every single one. Not one of the stocks on the Tehran Stock Exchange was in the red. And this is the first time in the history of Tehran having a stock exchange, for the first time in history. So that's something. You know what I mean? They're doing really well out of this, really well. And good on them, to be honest. Good on them. Also, I did see today that, you know how Trump does this thing where he'll say, oh, Dell's a really good computer. Dell, everyone should buy a Dell. And you go and look into it and you find out he actually bought shares in Dell like literally 2 months before or 4 weeks before or 3 weeks before or something. There's another one of those. He purchased around 50,000 worth of stock in Takeo Group Holdings. And this, it could be more than 50,000, by the way. It could be a lot more. I don't know. And in TKO Group Holdings, shortly before, he promoted the UFC event at the White House. This is the New York Times reporting this. And he bought the stock on March the 25th, just over 2 weeks after the Freedom Fights 250 event was publicly announced. So the event was announced, he buys the stock, he then promotes it, and he's quids in. This guy is raking it in. Pete Hegseth was talking a lot today. There's a lot of statements he's made. Most of them are on Suleiman's wall, but I did see him saying a true friendship is developing between the US and Pakistan. A true friendship is developing between the US and Pakistan. That actually made me really worry for Pakistan, to be honest, because nobody wants a friendship. Nobody wants Pete Hegseth to say that there's a true friendship with him on any level. That's like the kiss of death, right? So I think that the Pakistani, the kind of the COAS, the Chief of Army Staff, Asim Munir, better watch his back. If Pete Hegseth sees him as a friend, there's trouble brewing there. I saw something else actually. This is coming from the Ministry of Defence in the UK, and I thought of you, Andrew, right? So they did some sort of questionnaire, survey, feedback, whatever. And they said that in the UK, only 45% of regular armed forces personnel are satisfied with service life in general, less than half. Only 37% are satisfied with their pay, and 21% plan to leave. So we have Keir Starmer in Britain talking about defense resilience and all of this stuff across the globe and across Europe and fighting Russia, while a fifth of its regular personnel are thinking about exiting, which is interesting. And saying that the US, UK, and Australia are going to develop, this was announced by Sky News today, they want to develop underwater drones through a defense pact. US, UK, and Australia are putting together a defense pact to develop underwater drones. I don't know what they're going to strike with that, but that's interesting. Also, I saw a post by Robert, which was interesting. It says Chevron CEO Mike Worth, and I think Avi might have sent me this actually as well, says we will start to see physical shortages. He says, and he was asked, this is the Chevron CEO, when will we reach tank bottom? And he says, before long. I think June and July will be critical. You can see the trajectory of inventories, and it's concerning. We haven't reached a crisis point yet, but the inertia is very strong, and turning that isn't easy. So he's saying basically we're down a long, dark road, and it's going to be very difficult to turn it around. And he thinks June or July is when we're going to reach rock bottom. So we haven't got rock bottom yet. And when he's saying we will start to see physical shortages, we're already seeing them, and we know that. The price of everything is through the roof, and I'm not just talking fuel, because the fuel impacts everything else, the supply chain on every level, and therefore the cost is going up for everything. And he's saying worse is to come in June and July. So that's interesting and worrying at the same time. When Hegseth was speaking, he also said, you can have all the rules you want, and rules are great, but if you can't back them up with hard power, the rules are not worth the paper they are written on. When I read that, when I heard him, there's a clip of him, right, talking about that. If you can't back up the rules with hard power, the rules are not worth the paper they're written on. I find it quite ironic that America's crying a lot about Iran's hard power at the moment. Well, they're backing up their rules. So you can't have what's good for you is good for them. Really, let's be honest. What else is there? I think that was all I had today, to be honest. And this fusion between the Israeli and American kind of alliance, let's call it that. I think it's already there, Suleiman. It's just not formalized. You know what I mean? And they share intelligence and they share AI. They share everything. You know what I mean? Like Israel says, jump, and America says how high. There's nothing new here. It's just that it's going to be formalized in law. Should it be that? And I think this is why they're doing it. I think they're doing it because they're concerned. There's an awakening in America. People are waking up. People want their country back. People want their sovereignty back. And I think this is Israel just saying, okay, you know what? Just in case we should have a president anytime in the future that feels that they need to be truly America first, let's just cast this into law the way that we've been working so that no one can actually do that in future and every president is bound by it. And I think that's why they're doing it, to be honest. But those are my thoughts on it. That's it. Should we go to overtime?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, sorry, Suleiman, go ahead.
No, go for it.
Yeah, just before we go to overtime, Andrew, what are your thoughts on this? And then we'll go to overtime.
Yes, Beatrice, I'm glad you brought those points up. Real quick on the three big ones, very, very alarming, concerning. First, for the United States military to exist, and that means legally codified as part of an integral part of the IDF and vice versa, is beyond alarming. It's sickening because when you get into the depth of it, take the engagement of either enemy, friend, or foe. That means that any time an Israeli and IDF force, and let's look at this. Let's look at what's going on in Lebanon right now. That genocide that's going on right now. That means that literally U.S. forces, that means our men and women in uniform, will be ordered to go and, let's say, land on a transport in Tel Aviv, get off, get with an IDF, embed with an IDF force. That means they're going to be committing genocide. That means that our forces under military commanders, and I see it being joint command, where some IDF reprobate, despicable, heartless, demonic being would tell one of our forces, hey, when I give an order, that is as if your commander in chief were giving this order. You've been told to embed with us. We have the green light. The rules of engagement are as follows. We're going to go attack and hit this village because we have the enemy embedded there. Lies and lies and lies. And we got to destroy these, quote, targets, because they'll never say families or humans. It's a target. And then what'll happen? Some young man or woman being embedded will go do their thing. I'm doing this for America. I'm doing this because I'm fulfilling. They will literally have blood on their hands, and it won't come out until later. But I was in, and just like you, Beatrice, you were in Beirut. I was there. And I was there in 1982. I had boots on the ground. I was standing there with the most horrific smells of burning. It smelled like a combination of burning garbage, petroleum, and just this. I can't describe the smells, but the destruction and the carnage that the IDF waged on those innocent civilians. At the time, I didn't know. I was there and was told that the IDF had to defend itself against extremists that were trying to destroy and move in and invade innocent little Israel, the country. But when we started to put things more and more together, it was clear that it was wrong what they were doing. And why was Israel told to stand down and be put back and held in place? Because they knew that, and now I see it clearly. If Israel was given the green light and America had their backs, go ahead and wage carnage. They would have just Beirut, Lebanon would have ended up looking even worse than Gaza today. They would not have stopped, but we stopped them. But yeah, it's most horrible. It's horrific, and now more than ever, we've got to speak out against this. And forget writing our congressman. This, yeah, okay, write your congressman if you want, but we've got to start voting financially. We've got to take those steps. I won't go off into that. But the voting process does not work. It's broke. We can't go and say, well, we're going to put in a really good man, like we're going to get Thomas Massey in there. Right. We saw that happen. Okay, we'll still get him in. Oh, we'll vote for him for president. All right, we'll talk about that. But it's very, very alarming and concerning. Now, the other thing that you mentioned and was very concerning is for the U.S., I'm sorry, for the U.K. to have those stats of being of 20, you said 20%, 30% were planning on getting out. They
The
looked at
UK,
the
the UK,
UK.
Andrew, yeah.
Yeah, the UK, we're going to get out and wanted to leave. That is extremely alarming. I'm glad to see it because I think more and more young people are really waking up, and I think we're going to see that start happening in the U.S. I mean, this has to happen. More people are waking up. I pray, and we have two things going on here. Yes, we need a military. Yes, we have to have a military, just like we have to have police. We're not. Oh, let's go defund the police. Let's bring down. No, we need a military. We need police, but we have to make sure that we're fighting the just cause, and we're not. So we keep speaking out against it, and the election process isn't going to work. So I think we have to speak with financially. But anyway, and the final thing I want to say, Beatrice, and you were bringing in these points here. I think the most alarming right now is this bringing in U.S. forces because they know the IDF is falling apart. They're literally dismantling as we speak. They are a paper tiger. They can't do anything. So now they want to go sacrifice our men and women and shed blood and committing genocide. No, I will be speaking out every way possible, however I can help in this, but we've got to really speak out strongly on this. It has to happen. I can't believe we're watching and witnessing what we're witnessing. And I agree also with Pakistan. Pakistan better watch its back because now the U.S. is getting ready to do something with them. And Pete Hegseth, yeah. So I won't keep rambling, but thank you, Beatrice, for weighing in on that.
No, thank you very much, Andrew. And you're right, Pakistan better watch their back. I mean, seriously, who wants to be friends with freaking Pete Hegseth? Like, literally, it's like a poison chalice. Him saying, "Oh, let's be buddies." You're gonna be like, "No, thank you. I don't know when my back's gonna get in the way of your knife, Mr. Hegseth, but thank you very much." I just want to welcome Dr. Athusa as well. I just want to read out quickly what Section 224 actually does, and this is the draft that they were proposing yesterday. And for those space hosts listening in the tunnels, please do use this information if it helps. So basically, it's they're gonna give 150 million annually from the financial year 2027 through to 2029, and they're tweaking this Section 224, which is titled United States-Israel Defense Technology Cooperation Initiative. Now, the money, which is 150 million annually, it's beside the point, because what it matters is that's the basic amount. They'll probably get more than that. What that money is going to used for, it's going to be used to build architecture that basically is bilateral R&D, research and development across AI, quantum computing, autonomous systems, direct energy, cyber, biotech, counter drone systems, and missile defense. They're also going to do co-production and joint ventures with Israeli defense firms on U.S. soil. Okay, so co-production and joint ventures in America. They're going to have licensing agreements that embed Israeli origin intellectual property into the Pentagon programs of record. So literally, Israeli origin intellectual property is going to be embedded in the Pentagon. Network integration and data fusion, which means like US military data flowing into Israeli systems and vice versa. They're going to have access to that data, network integration and data fusion. and then the pathway from the R&D straight into procurement, bypassing the normal foreign aid oversight channels. So at the moment, for procurement, I know in the UK as well, there's all sorts of checks and balances, especially when it comes to foreign procurement. This time for Israel, it'll go anything they research and develop will go straight into procurement, bypass the normal foreign aid oversight channels. And there's quite a bit now, because I've been looking into this quite a bit since I saw it yesterday, and we spoke about it on this space. There's not going to be a lot of transparency to it, I will say that. The Pentagon have got a specific procurement model which is just for this, and yeah, I'll talk about it a bit more. Let's go to overtime. Thanks for waiting. Jump in, and then I'll come to you.
Just before you go to overtime, just want to thank. One second. Just want to thank Core SR on the YouTube channel with 50 gifted memberships. Thank you so much for the gifted memberships. Really appreciate your support and your support of the space. It does help a lot and it does mean a lot. It's not easy to run these spaces. A lot of people were supporting the space a lot before and less so now. So really support us, appreciate your support. It allows us to do this every single day and basically have no day off. So thank you so much, Call. Really do appreciate it. Beatrix, who are you gonna go to?
Yeah, I was going to go to overtime, and yeah, thank you for those gifted memberships. Really appreciate it, and appreciate everybody on our Moral Resistance channel. But go ahead, overtime. Thanks for waiting.
Absolutely. Shout out to Suleiman in the space, the only space on X that gives everyone a mic. Massive shout out. Make sure you guys repost. Truth Free Speech platform. I think I wanted to comment on what Beatrice and Andrew you were saying earlier. I think this is the signal. This is the end of America right here, as we see it, with this new thing that they're bringing about with, Israel. I think I'm glad what Beatrice you just covered right now, which a lot of people don't know, which is they're gonna be able to bypass that entire process of like getting information out and and they call it research and development and AI. It pretty much ties in with the massive data centers that they're using in America right now. They're saying that these data centers are being solely built for AI. They're being built to do what they're doing in Gaza over here now. So I hope everyone wakes up in time, because right now it's looking really ugly. It's looking really bad here for America. Also, the economy is getting decimated, but more so this partnership with the IOF and the U.S. military is for many reasons. I think Beatrice and Andrew nailed many of the reasons before. Another reason is because Israel knows that it's also going down. So it wants to tie itself with America as much as possible so that America goes down with it. That way, they have far less of a chance of going down, because obviously, like America, the big empire, it's a lot harder to bring down than just Israel, the genocidal entity. So that's why they're tying themselves now so much with America. And if we continue to allow this, if we continue just to sit back and do nothing about it, they're gonna keep ingraining themselves. And this started ever since 2020, but this is now becoming more apparent. Pete Hegseth also, I think, another comment on that, and then I'll pass the mic. The guy is an absolute joke. If you guys saw him doing that exercise, he looks like a 70-year-old who just got a hip replacement. The guy is an absolute joke. The guy, what's even funnier is like when you heard the recording of him talking to the soldiers, the pep talk, he goes, "Yeah, Trump pointed to me and he said that I'm gonna handle these guys, but it's not me. It's actually gonna be you guys." I mean, to me, that was hilarious, because it was like he's like literally telling them to their faces that they're about to go do the dirty work. So he's like, "It's not me, it's you guys that are gonna go be slaves for Israel." So I mean, this is just an absolute comedy show. What we're seeing right now is Israel and the IDF. They're trying their hardest to ingrain themselves in the U.S. system entirely, so that hey, we're going down, you guys are gonna have to go down with us. That's the kind of mindset they want to push on especially right now, because what Khaleesi said, I mean, what Beatrice said is absolute facts. What Beatrice said about how Satan Yahoo, he's hated right now, and not because of the genocide that he's doing by the Israelis. He's hated because their economy is crumbling too. They're having to rely on America more. That's why APAC is spending more millions of dollars beating out politicians like Thomas Massey. This is why they're spending that money. And Andrew, you're right. Like, we're gonna have to start putting our money where our mouth is. I think that Thomas Massey situation taught us Americans that we have to also buy our way out. And that's the only way that we're going to figure it out. We have to reverse engineer what these Zionists do, what these APEC lobbies do, and then we have to do the same thing they do, which is put their money where their mouth is. Now we understand that this system is just all about money. It's all about dollars. Dollars is your true votes. It's not going to the poll. It's also doing the donating stuff. We have a long way to go to build systems like what the Zionists currently have, but I think that's a good start is reverse engineering what they did there, how they accumulated this cash, whether it's creating a cult like following, and then funneling all this money here so they could decimate guys like Thomas Massey. This guy Thomas Massey was a beast. Everybody likes him, and they were still able to decimate him. So I think we need to reverse engineer that as Americans. We need to figure out how these Zionists are doing that. And moving forward, we need to do the same thing. We need to pick politicians who have backgrounds similar to us, who they're not going to throw us under the bus, who are going to be kind of like, Zohran Mamdani in a way. He's not the best. He's not the best example, but he's a good start, where he didn't show up to the Israel Day parade in New York, which is another absolute disgrace that we have an Israel parade in New York every year. But Mamdani didn't show up to that, so that's a change in a very long time. So that's just a start. That's what I wanted to cover, and I really hope people wake up, because it's getting disastrous, especially with this news that's being covered live. That's why I always tell people, join this space, because they do not tell us this on the news. They do not tell us this on the fake mainstream, fake stream media. And that's how they're able to continuously fool people. That's how they're able to literally pull the rug right under America's feet, right under Americans' feet. That's why the gas is a lot higher. Donald Trump has to keep lying to bring it lower. So I hope everyone tunes in. I hope everyone is analyzing, reverse engineering this, and we continue moving forward. Dollars is where really brings things forward. Votes too, but what Andrew said, I think where he ended off with was on the money, which is money runs things, and we have to figure out how these Zionists are doing it, how they're funneling their system, because they're going to continue doing like what Joa said, which is taking advantage of the situation. They are taking advantage of the situation that's going on in the strait, charging everybody way more money, making way more money out here, under the guise that, we're at war with Iran because they have a nuclear weapon. They do not care about nuclear weapons. Israel has a ton of them. I want to end off with this. Israel did 9/11, so the fact that now they have like the complete back end system, that's basically what's about to happen now. They're about to have the entire back end system of America. They're about to have all this data, all this trackability. It gives them like an unbelievable power to do any kind of like false flag, without being detected either. So, I mean, this is what's even scarier. Who knows if they end up getting pissed. We saw what they did with the pager attacks. We saw they have control over what's put into iPhone chips. America needs to grow a spine and stand up for itself very soon, or it's over for us. Thank you guys for letting me share.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
Beatrix, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I was going to add something there. So I don't think it is the end for America. I think it's an awakening for America. That's what I will say. If it wasn't for the fact that America is waking up and pushing back, Donald Trump, who was bought in, he was voted in with massive, massive votes, has got the lowest approval ratings of all time. And that's what, within the first less than 18 months of his presidency, America is waking up. And I'm hoping and praying that they will get their country back, and I want them to. I don't really care about Israel too much, to be honest. So I wouldn't say that. This is I just want to say, because somebody said, why it is it. So the NDAA is the National Defense Authorization Act. And what this act does is it's a set of like federal laws that are passed yearly that specify like, annual budget and expenditures and policies of the Department of Defense. That's what it is. So this is what we're talking about. It's section 224 of that act. Okay, the United States Israel Defense Technology Corporation Initiative is what they've called it, section 224. They buried it. This information that we read out yesterday was buried on page 85 somewhere. So it's not like it's right on the top as a headline. Now, the thing that was interesting for me is that once these Israeli firms are embedded into American supply chains, and once their IP, their intellectual property, is inside the Pentagon programs, once the US and Israeli military data networks are fused together as one data network, then bringing them apart, disentanglement becomes economically and institutionally impossible to very difficult and very expensive and very time consuming. So you'd have to rip apart procurement programs, you'd have to break contracts, you'd have to rebuild supply chains. I don't know what the duration is of this. I mean, yesterday was a draft, okay? Let's see when it gets approved and what the process of that is. And then I don't know what the duration is for this actual work to take place. This R&D work, this procurement kind of cycle work, this IP work, the supply chains, everything else, the data networks. Let's see what the timescale is for this architecture to be built. If it's a 1 year, 18-month timescale, then there's still a chance. There's still a chance that with more awareness and more people talking about it, something can be done there. So that's what I'd say. Andy, jump in.
Yeah, going back to like countries that need to wake up and do more. I mean, Turkey's struggling economically, and I mean, Erdogan made his own bed by deciding, oh, I'm gonna talk tough on Israel and do this and do that, but then he still trades with Israel and all of this. And like, there was something about like, oh, a polymarket. I'm just saying, will Turkey hold new elections earlier? And I commented, why would they do that? And then some random person from Turkey said, because Erdogan's standing is slipping because the economy's going down. And it's like, oh, gee, I wonder why. Maybe when you choose to go against the will of your own people who don't like Israel and you choose to align with Europe instead of China, Russia, Iran, when I mean, maybe he's afraid that if he aligns with them, he'd get taken out or something. So he's just looking out for himself instead of his own country. And now they're not getting energy, and they already had an inflationary crisis, and it's getting worse. But yeah, that's another country that's going through tough times because of this. And so again, yeah, that's unfortunate for the people of Turkey who demand good leadership. Like when I was in Turkey in August, there was a massive pro-Palestine protest with like 10,000 people in the street because, again, the vast majority of people around the world, whatever country you go to, are not supportive of Israel. There's very few countries that have a large, I mean, even the majority of Americans now aren't supportive of Israel. And Turkey, I think I saw a poll, they were going country by country. It's like 91% of people there have an unfavorable view of Israel. Pakistan, I'm sure the number's pretty high as well. But it's again, as we know, there's very few countries where the government actually represents the will of the people. Iran is one of the rare ones where the government represents the will of the people, and that's why they're trying so hard to take it out. They're like, wait, a government that represents the people and not this Zionist system? No, we can't have that. We have to change that. That's that's that.
So
It's
so
a
I got a question here for Beatrix. I know that you're talking a little bit about what the policy looks like and how long it takes and things of this nature. I mean, are you aware, like, I mean, Israel and the United States have been together. I mean, the United States made it, like, rebuilt Israel, right? Like, what, 80 years ago, 90 years ago. So it's like, I don't really know what the premise is of like trying to kind of like nitpick how long or what's kind of going on, but I mean, obviously, like, it is what it is, right? Like the United States and Israel, that's just like what it is, right? I mean, so whether or not like it lasts for 20 years or 50 years or whatever, I mean, that's just like the reality of like kind of what's going on. So like, yeah, you can talk about like Trump being like not favored. At the end of the day, like, it's America and is Israel. I I guess I'm trying to kind of understand here, like where the point is.
Well, Beatrice, could I jump in on that?
Um, just a second, please, Andrew. So, Raxi, Andy was actually talking when you interrupted him. So, whatever you're trying to understand, you're going to have to put your hand up, wait until I call on you, and then repeat it again, because I switched off the minute you interrupted Andy. That's not how we work on this space. So, I'm going to allow Andy to finish what he was saying, because I did want to respond to him on Turkey. And then we'll let go to Raxi as long as he's put his hand up and able to speak. And then by all means, Andrew, of course, you can jump in anytime.
Oh,
Andrew,
why?
please go
Because I
ahead.
mean, was it too hard of a topic for you to understand? Is that why? Like, we want
I
to
think it's
deflect
the
here
rudeness with
from the
which you
UK.
interrupted
We
that I
want to
switched off. That's
deflect
not
from the
how we
UK. Is
listen, Raxi. That's not how we operate on this space, right? You don't get to jump in front of
yeah,
people
no.
and
I mean, you
interrupt
want to
them.
deflect from.
I'm not deflecting anything. I will answer your goddamn question, but wait your
No,
turn and
no.
have some
You're
decency. All
deflecting
right, do you
this.
know
You're
what? I'm
deflecting
going to
this.
drop you
No, that's
down. If
exactly.
you interrupt me again, I will drop you down. All right, I'm going to drop you down. Literally, and you won't come up
Oh,
on this panel again. I have no problem answering your question. I have no problem responding to you. Get
so
that
then why
clear,
don't you do
right?
it, Beatrice?
I will, but you got to wait your turn. You don't
Okay,
get to
but
come up
you
here.
said you
Right, okay,
would
that's
answer
it.
it.
You're gone. Right. You can request again, Raxi, when Andy has finished. And when I bring you up, you put your hand up and I will answer your question. Okay. But you do not get to come up here, cut somebody else off when they're mid talking, and then go on the longest ass rant and demand that I answer your question. Yeah, now he's requesting. He can wait requesting. I'm so sorry about that, Andy. Go ahead. I
Yeah.
apologize for his rudeness.
Yeah, so I made my point with Turkey, and then you have MAGA doing their normal cope, and they're saying the U.S. is energy dominant. We're exporting oil to Japan, no more relying on OPEC and these countries that hate us, and it's complete delusion. We import more oil than we export because we only produce about 13 million barrels a day, and we consume slightly over 20 million. So, of course, you're going to have MAGA saying, oh, we export because they know again that a lot of people aren't like us. They're not going to do the research. They'll just see, oh, we're exporting oil. America's doing great, but they know they're not going to have the vast majority of Americans won't look up the data. Okay, how much do we produce? How much do we consume? Because if the average American knew that we consume over 7 million more barrels than we produce, they'd be like, wait a minute, this strait being closed is actually a problem. And you have people saying, oil, gas will, like Gunther Eagleman's like, gas will be back down to $2 a gallon in no time. It was never $2 a gallon during this administration. It was the lowest national average during this administration. I believe it dipped down to like 289 or something right before this war started. But the last time it was two was during COVID because of demand destruction. But that wasn't because of Trump having great economic policy. That was because of a manufactured pandemics. The only way you'd ever get down to two again is some type of, well, the strait would have to be open and there'd have to be some type of recession to ever get down to two. Or it would have to get so cheap and there'd have to be new technology. So this idea that Trump's just going to magically get oil down to two again right when this war ends is ridiculous because it wasn't at two before the war started. And if it does get down to two, it's going to be because of a recession. So actually, I could see gas getting down to two, not because Trump is amazing and he can magically make gas cheap, but because the economy is going to crash. But I think that's going to happen way down the line after they make it so expensive. Then it's going to crash the economy. Then the strait's going to open, which I think is all part of their plan, kind of.
Yeah, Andy Juk, I don't really agree with the kind of prognosis you've given of the future. But what I will say is on Turkey, okay, one thing Erdogan, I believe, this is my opinion, has done, and I go to Turkey a lot, right, is that he's put Turkey first and he's put the Turkish people first. And yesterday or the day before, Suleiman mentioned this revolution that they tried to do against Erdogan. And the youth came out in the streets and they headed off the military and they stopped it. And I know a lot of people in Turkey. And when I went there, I asked them, I was like, oh, were you guys out in the square that, like 6 months ago, whenever? And they were like, yeah, we were. And I was like, but you guys hate Erdogan. And they were like, yeah, well, we do. But we're not going to let anybody influence our military to overthrow our leader. We decide and we will overthrow him when the time is right. But it ain't going to be done for no Western foreign forces. So I commend them on that. You know what I mean? And now, economically, he's struggling a lot, but they're doing that intentionally. He is a member of NATO. He has got a very particular role because he sits between Asia and the European Union, Syria one side, the EU the other side, and he's stuck between a rock and a hard place because the EU countries, even though they deal with him and everything else, I don't think they particularly like him. I think they want him to cave in more to them, and we saw that when Germany said, stop the Syrian refugees coming through. And he said, well, it's going to cost me. You're going to pay for it. If you're not going to pay for it, I ain't going to stop them. Why am I going to spend my country's money on pacifying you guys? Pay. And then, you know what? We'll put some checks and balances in place. If you're not going to pay, we ain't going to do it. And so I like a lot of the stances he's taken because he's done it for his country and for his people, and he's brought Turkey a long way. But let me go to
Except that he was instrumental in the cause of the crisis, and he did bring a lot of Syrians into Turkey as well.
no, he didn't because he did get paid then by Germany. That's my point. But let me go to Ali because I believe
I mean,
Ali's
a lot
come
of the
up.
money in before, and he caused the crisis in the first place.
I know. Ali, go ahead.
Hi, Eid Mubarak to everyone, by the way. I was gonna tell very much the same things to Andy because he said that Erdogan is not representing the people of the country. That's so absurd, really. We just had an election and then he won the election. How come somebody's gonna come out and say that? That was so.
I think
I
he
don't.
means on foreign policy, though, Ali. Like on foreign policy, people are anti-Israel. Is that what you meant, Andy?
Yes, I meant more on foreign policy. Like he should, yeah, I meant on foreign policy. He should be aligning more with, like, he should be aligning more with Russia, China, Iran than with. That's what I meant. I mean, Turkey is objectively probably the strongest military in Europe at this point. So it's like if he should be saying like, yeah, we're just gonna go with China, Russia, and Iran at this point. Like, have fun without us, NATO. Bye. Like, honestly, that's what I would do at that point. Like, screw it.
Well, I don't agree again because uh, he's he's the only leader actually that can talk to Trump and Putin at the same time, and also for the other conflicts, all around the world, he is right in the middle. And very well said by Calisi. No, the Beatrix said that. Sorry, he puts the country first. That's what he's doing. Uh, Maybe it might be looking like he's leaning to somebody to some sides a little more from outside, but if you follow it closely, it's really that's what he's doing. He's putting his people and the country first. Well, that's what he's doing.
Yeah, I do
And
agree with that.
sorry, one more thing I was gonna say. There's Andy, I think a while ago said that there's like millions of people are protesting against Israel, right, in the streets.
I didn't say millions. I said
Well,
when
I
I
mean,
was.
forget about the numbers. There are protests going on, right? Do you know who is organizing that?
I don't know who's
His son.
organizing.
His son. So that's not like some Erdogan is doing something and the people of the country is doing something else. We are totally in line with the leadership.
Okay, thank you for
I do
clarifying
think
that.
he has no, but I do think he has opposition, Ali. It's just that and people are against him in the country. It's just that they're not stupid. These people are smart people, and it's like in any country, right?
Of
Even
course,
if you have a leader that's a popular leader, you
right.
will have people on a domestic front who don't like him, don't like his policies. But the thing I found very, very appealing in Turkey is that there's no way they're going to let anybody come from outside to overthrow their leader, even if they don't like what he's
That's
doing.
that's very true. Even there are some people that are called like Kemalists, which are the not very religious part of the country. Even most of them are uh, took a stance like a protective when the coup was happening in 2016. They tried to protect him because the Turkish people say whatever we are gonna do, we are gonna do it, not some by somebody else's hand. That's the main stance in the country. And I also don't agree with the Andy that he connected the economical problem going on in the country to his stance, even that he actually uh, explained it wrongly. That's not the case at all. The problem started with the COVID, because everyone else in the world was increasing the um, what was that? Um, I just forgot it. The rates. I mean, the rates are everyone is trying to increase the rates everywhere during the COVID. He was decreasing it, so that caused the Turkish lira to dump badly, and then from that point, uh, it was little hard to recover it from there. But now I think we are doing better now, and it's gonna get even better because we are paying less for the energy year by year. That's helping a lot. Plus, we are making a lot of military asset sales. Like, uh, for example, the 65% of the drone sales of the world is held by Turkey. Did you guys know that? Like every 100 drones is sold in the world, 65 of them coming from Turkey. That's a big number. So that's helping a lot.
Well, I think the instability in Turkey happened due to a multitude of reasons, and not just because of COVID. I mean, you saw 2018 when there was a major currency crisis. That was before COVID. So there were a multitude of reasons, including not limited to Turkey's basically foreign policy and the way they were dealing with issues, and which caused a number of people, refugees, to come to Turkey, as well as a number of other issues. But the monetary crisis happened before COVID, maybe became exacerbated by COVID.
Yeah, true. Basically, the it started like going really bad during the COVID. Yeah, you're right. There are some other reasons as well. That's true.
Yeah, appreciate it, brother. Yeah, I don't see like Turkey as like a good place. I don't see it as a bad. I think they do some things which are good, and I think they do some things that are bad. I don't agree with some of their decision making, especially when it comes to foreign policy. On the other hand, I don't agree with the rivals of Erdogan, who basically want to create kind of this like atheistic society, and angry that Turkey isn't that, and that's the reason they're trying to essentially do an color revolution against him.
Hmm.
Yeah,
The reason.
I 100% agree. They should not make the society less religious because they feel like a society without religion, it kind of loses its moral values. Like just look at the West, as the West has become less religious, like it's lost its moral values, and it's the West has become more corrupt as it's become less religious,
Well, the
and that's
problem,
how the Zionists have taken over.
on the other hand, when sometimes people become too religious, and then they don't be the right type of religious, where it's about, human character and being the best person you are, and instead it becomes extremism, as per some of Turkey's decisions, then it does cause other issues as well. So there's obviously a balance where atheism is obviously not good, and then extremism is not good as well. So that's the issue you got.
Suleiman,
Yeah.
isn't Erdogan's whole thing that he pivoted away from the secular governance to embrace Islam? Because that's all the reporting I've seen is that
Yeah,
he
yeah. He became
expanded
more.
it.
He's more conservative. Yeah. So the secularists in the country don't like him. So if you go to like the academic circles in Turkey, a lot of them have a large number of like secularists in there, and then a lot of these like atheistic type people who left Turkey, and almost similar to the monarchists, like Gilan is one example, who tried to import into the country who again was this kind of secularist type person. So yeah, there is this idea, and then Turkey has like a lot of strange movements as well, and then some even different types of classical movements as well. So Turkey has kind of like it's unique in the sense of it does have a plethora of different ideas and ideologies. So like you could get like extremists there, you can get people who are like classical Hanafis there, you can get people who are like secularists there, you got a big reformist movement there, modernist reformist movement there, you got like a atheistic movement there. So it's Turkey does have this kind of, I would say like maybe there's other countries you can give examples of, but this like kind of very unique multitude of ideological perspectives within the Muslim world, which I'm not really seen in any other Muslim country unless someone can highlight it.
Yeah, it was an interesting blend when you
Guys, I have to go on,
Yeah, it's an
Andy.
interesting blend when you're there. Like they have these incredible mosques, and then you have people there that are more religious. Like you have plenty of women wearing hijabs, but then I think you have more women that are like less more like obviously it does wearing a hijab does not make you a traditional Muslim or not necessarily like, but it's interesting that it's like it's not like so like it's not this stereotypical like people stereotype Islam as oppressed women in hijabs, and that's not oppression, but it's like not what you'd consider the stereotype of painted as the West. Like Laura Loomer's like it's this psycho-Islamic republic. Laura Loomer literally posted America should leave NATO and then topple the sicko Islamic Erdogan regime. Like this, like she's absolutely insane. And like it's a very interesting country. Like you go there, they have drinking, and it's kind of like a mix of like traditional Islamic culture. Like they have these incredible mosques like the Blue Mosque, Hagia Sophia, but then they also have like drinking and Western culture. So it's like a mix of the West and Islam kind of fusing together, which is very cool, I think.
I do think Laura Loomer's right though. I do think that US needs to exit NATO because if US is not in NATO, there ain't a NATO, and I think NATO was a really bad idea. It's just basically a war machine. But listen, I wanted to read
Well,
something out that's really funny, and Manko, I'm going to give the mic to you, and then I want to go to Dr. Athus as well. Do you remember that whole saga that happened about Trump watches? So he done some fake advert. I don't know when it was, and he said, "Oh, I'm going to sell these Trump watches, and they're $600, and you got to pay for them, and then we're going to get one delivered to you." And then loads of people paid, and then they were waiting and waiting and waiting. And I don't know the full story, but I did see a lot of people waiting, and there was a lot of press around the fact that these watches are never going to come, and it was a scam and stuff. Anyway, some people have now got their watch they paid $600 for, but you know what? I'm sorry, it's funny, but it's missing the T. So it actually says rump watch instead of Trump watch. Like, I'm like, that is hilarious. It serves them right for actually even buying a freaking Trump watch. They've got a rump watch now. That's so funny. Manko, did you get a rump watch? Go on,
I was
Suleiman.
just about, I just unmuted my mic to ask the same question.
I'm not into
Manko, did you get a
watches.
rump watch?
I've never worn watches.
Definitely.
Yeah, but that wasn't the question. You didn't answer the question. Have you got your rump watch?
I take that as
No,
a
that's what I
yes.
said. I would never get a watch. Like I've never bought a watch. It's like jewelry for men.
Do you know anybody who did get a rump watch, Manko, in your manga circles?
I never heard of it. The only time I even heard of it is on X. I saw like some people posting about it saying that they did get it or something, but this was just like I obviously didn't even click the post. I was just like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing.
Well, it wasn't only the watch. He was pumping Bibles. He was pumping his shoes. You name it. The guy's just a little whore out there doing whatever he needs to do to make a buck.
The
You
thing
got to
is
remember
that
his
I don't
shoes.
trust whenever anyone does this kind of stuff, it's always the same thing, which is it's always just drop shipping. So there's the same factory and they make all the stuff and they'll just contract with people and be like, hey, we'll put your branding on our like generic product that we have. And it's the same product and it just gets different branding sent out to different people. So all of these things are always a ripoff. It always comes from like Chinese factories. Like this is a whole thing that's done. It's the same thing. Like a lot of people will do this whenever they have like some kind of influencer status. The Daily Wire did this with chocolate bars. They started selling chocolate bars for like $9 or something stupid. The chocolate bars actually normally, if you go to the store, cost like $150 for the same chocolate bar, but it comes from the same factory. They just put their branding on it, and the factory then ships it out. So, yeah, these things are all scams. You should never ever get this kind of stuff because obviously someone like Trump, whatever, like they're not in the watchmaking business, so it's all just going to be drop ship.
But he took $600 for it. Freaking hell, he should be giving these people a refund. They waited long enough
Did
for
you
it. And do you
see?
know what? Do you know what, Manco? You're right in terms of drop shipping and stuff, but I'll tell you, whoever manufactured these, they definitely do not support Trump anymore. Because I'm
I
telling you,
would
they
love to see.
deliberately dropped that T. They deliberately dropped that T. That was not a mistake.
I would love to see if you open it up. I would be very surprised if it did not say "Made in China" inside.
Mankill,
Of course.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but he sold, didn't he sell like an NFT? It was like Trump cards or something like that, and they sold out immediately.
Yeah, cards, coins, shoes, you name it.
the guy's a
So,
I
guys, I just
mean,
got
can
some
you
breaking.
imagine if Hitler
Mm.
was around right now, right? Because if he had meme coins and NFTs and like all these products, there would be so many people with like Hitler merch, and it would be worth so much money now if they had made it in the 1940s.
Yeah, but yeah. Let's go to listen. I got breaking news. Iran has rejected the US demands to surrender its enriched uranium stockpiles under any circumstances, even if signing the memorandum of understanding. I can't believe they still haven't freaking signed it yet. They've been talking about it for 10 days and entering the 60-day negotiation window with no nuclear discussions being held in that or after that window and no change expected to Iran's nuclear posture. This is New York Times reporting
Well,
this.
isn't the entire point of the 60 days for the nuclear negotiations? Like that's the only thing they have to talk about.
No, I disagree. But hang on, let me just read the rest of this. This comes as a faction within Iran's leadership holding Supreme National Security Council representation is now actively working to block any deal with the US, regardless of terms, due to the excessive demands that America's making. And that's Wall Street Journal said that second part. So let's just read that. Iran has rejected the US demands to surrender its enriched uranium stockpiles. Um, under any circumstances. Okay, so they're not going to surrender their enriched uranium stockpiles under any circumstances. Cool, cool. Even if signing the MOU and entering the 60-day negotiation window with no nuclear discussions being held in that or after that window and no exchange expected. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that's what the whole discussion was about? I thought it was
Beatrix,
about
so the Iranians said this, according to leaks, the Iranians said, we're not going to give anything to the United States, but we'll give it to China. And then Trump came back with his like public, his truth, where he said that it's not going to be given to anyone. It will just be destroyed in place. So the US isn't going to take it. No one's going to take it. It's just going to be destroyed in Iran where nobody gets it. That's what he said.
um yeah. What about, like you said, that's the only thing to discuss. What about lifting of sanctions? What about all the Iranian assets that they're holding on to? What about the Strait of Hormuz protocol or agricultural free or whatever they've called it today? What about ending all war in the
So
region?
all the Strait of Hormuz and blockade stuff is supposed to be sorted out before they get into the negotiation period. So that stuff happens right up front. And then in the negotiation period, that's to deal with the nuclear stuff. And the sanctions is a bargaining chip as part of that process. So they're going to work something out, whether they decide, okay, if you give up these things, then we'll unfreeze these assets and so on.
Yeah, I just think this is all like I just think this is all mental, to be honest, Manko. I think this is just all kicking the can down the road and making sure. I mean, like Iran's making tons of money on their stock exchange. Trump's making tons of money in his family's back pocket. Netanyahu's crying. I don't think any of them really care about that much so anymore either. The West is suffering. I think whatever, we're going to foot the bill for it. And yeah, I think that's it. And I think that's it.
Well, I don't think Iran's making a huge amount of money. Like stock exchange, how big is the stock exchange? How much money are those individual companies making? I don't think it's that much.
But
And
Suleiman, they must be making proceeds from the Strait of Hormuz, which is more, and good on them, by the way, which is
how much do you think the damage cost in the country? And how much do you think like not allowing
yeah,
actual free trade into the country, how much that's costing them? Like people in
yes,
Iran are struggling. So
yes. But Suleiman, you're making a different point. I'm not saying I was actually coming on to that. I was saying good on them, because they're the people that have been under sanctions for 4 decades. I have no qualms about Iran getting off the back of this something for their country. I have no qualms about them charging 2 billion, 3 billion, 5 billion, whatever they want for that Strait of Hormuz and keeping it closed. I do have qualms about Trump making money off the back of this, to be honest, right?
But
But
Beatrix, if they could export their oil, they'd be making a lot more money from the oil than they'd be able to conceivably get from like trying to charge tolls.
yeah, but Manco, you know what it is? It's what they're in control of and what they can control. They want those sanctions to be lifted, but they're not in control of that, right? But they are in control of the Strait of Hormuz. And so they're making the most of what they've got. That's the point, isn't it?
It looks like I was reading something about how the reason that a lot of companies will not touch doing any kind of tolls is because they're afraid they will be under sanctions, because if they pay tolls, they'd be paying it to a sanctioned entity and so on, and then they get in a bunch of trouble, which is why it's never really taken off.
Because of the United States.
What did you say? What did Manco say?
No, I think IB chimed in, said because of the United States, which yeah, it's our sanctions and it's international sanctions, but enforced by the United States.
But I don't, you know what, Manco, that's always stuck me, right? If I don't like you and I don't want to do trade with you, right? I ain't going to do trade with you. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to go to Andrew and Brother Hussein and Dr. Atusa and Ali and Andy and IB and say, do you know what? None of you can do trade with Manco, because if you do, I'm going to make sure that I punish you. I'm going to make sure we fine you. I'm going to make sure we cut you off from everybody else on this panel, and no one's going to, like, this is just mafia rule. And this is what
But Beatrix,
America does.
The reason it's set up that way is that if you don't do that, then it really becomes meaningless very quickly, because all those other countries will just transship right through them and they'll just backdoor all the trade and you'll end up doing trade with them anyway. So like,
Yeah,
let's say, for example, that Iran can freely trade with Turkey and Turkey can freely trade with the United States, but the United States completely blocks all direct trade from Iran. All the Iranians would do is just trade everything to companies in Turkey, who then turn around and trade it to the United States, and they just take a cut being middlemen, but the trade just flows like completely. So that's why sanctions have to be broad and they have to be agreed to from a lot of countries. Even China, they will have loopholes with the sanctions. Well, they'll have companies that they don't care if they get sanctioned, but when China does do trade with Iran, the companies that do that trade, the U.S. sanctions them, because
yeah,
if
but
they didn't,
Manco,
those Chinese
it's a
companies could just turn
hypocrisy.
around. Hold on,
Yeah, it's a
if
hypocrisy.
they didn't sanction the Chinese companies, those Chinese companies could just turn around and take that
Manco,
stuff and sell it to the
I
United
get
States.
it. I get your example, but it's hypocrisy. They all sanctioned Russia, right? But then Russia sold that oil to India. India put a heavy markup on it and sold it back to America and Europe. And I was in the UK. The same oil. Look it up. And we knew, and America knew, it's actually Russian oil we're buying, but we're actually paying a lot more for it than if we bought it directly from Russia, which means we, the consumers, paid a lot more, right? The users. They inflicted that on us just so that can have their bravado of BS sanctions on Russia. So it's hypocrisy. Number one. Number two, I think there should be some form of a body that can decide. So, for example, if Israel was sanctioned and if it was international sanctions, I would support that because look at their record of criminal history and terrorism. Freaking hell, right? But it cannot be that one nation says sanction nation B because they're not listening to us and they're not kowtowing to us and they're not bending the knee and everybody's got to do it because might is right. Because like Iran has suffered for 4 decades, well, probably longer. And people have died. Same with Cuba. You know, when I went to Cuba, those people have done nothing wrong. They just don't bend the knee to America. That's all it is, really, to be honest with you. So I know how it works. What I'm saying is, and then when you look at Russia, we bought the Russian oil. We just bought it from India, and Modi made whack on it, literally. And do you know what? Like, of all the leaders in the world, he literally lined his pockets. Like, he's Zionist completely. He's disgraceful. It makes me sick, to be honest. So yeah, so the fact that Iran's making money off this, which they are, good on them. They're not in a hurry, you know. Oh, we're going to send a ground invasion. They're like, yeah, welcome. We'll greet you nicely. Come on in. That's not going to happen. I don't see where this is going, though, Manco. I mean, where do you think this is going to go? There ain't going to be a ground invasion. Trump tacos like twice a week now. What's going to happen to this?
Well, I mean, they've been trying to make it sound like they're close to announcing some kind of deal, and the more of a deal happens, the more Trump gets further away from any kind of plausible sort of re-engagement in terms of bombing. So I think if there is a preliminary deal, even though it doesn't work out in the long run, even though like 2 months from now it turns out they're not getting along, I don't think Trump's going to order bombing in 2 months from now. So the more time it takes and the more of at least partial agreement there is, I think Trump already doesn't want to re-engage. And if that happens, he gets even further from that. So I would start to lean against the war starting again. However, we're going to know, like I said the other day, we're going to know this week, are they going to have a deal or are they full of it? Because if they don't have a deal, at least a partial deal where they have the, you know, agreement over like Hormuz and the blockade and how that's going to work, if they don't have that hammered out by this week, then it means all the stuff they've been saying this past week has been BS and there hasn't actually been any agreement and everyone's just kind of jerking each other around. So if that happens, I think it's much more likely that the bombing will start again within the next few weeks.
Let's go to Dr. Atusa. Dr. Asusa, welcome, and welcome to Brother Hussein on the panel as well. Dr. Atusa, jump in. It's always good to have a chick on the panel speaking. Go ahead, Dr. Atusa.
Good afternoon, dear Beatrix. I know, right? Some
Seriously, you know what? It's so much hard work. You have no idea. Like on the space and off the space. You know, last week, right? You know, Suleiman uses whatever that thing is for YouTube when he does interviews. And one day it wasn't working. So the next day, while he was setting it up, I was on the phone. So I said, why don't you try it out on me? Send me the link and I'll connect and you can pretend like I'm your guest. So he says, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Let me test it. So he sends me the link, right? I've got a little clip of it, but I won't play it today. But because I did screen record it. So he sends me the link and I said, okay, pretend that I'm your guest. Like I was serious, right? Because I really wanted him to try it out and make sure it was working. So he says, yes, something like, oh yeah, welcome to Beatrix. She's kind of learning how to co-host spaces. I'm training her. She's not very good. Like the intro he gave me, Dr. Atusa, I was like, what the heck, man? I'm trying to help you here. So bad. But go ahead, Dr.
That's
Atusa.
hilarious. That's hilarious. Yes, it's good to have some voice of reason. I'm joking. Anyways, thank you for giving me the mic again. Thank you for this space. Thank you for
Isn't
everything.
Voice for a Reason that pro-Israeli chick, Beatrix's best friend?
Oh, who is that? Who's that?
It's some Zio chick. She's mental. I think she's Iranian Zio. I don't know what she is, but she's Zio chick. She's hilarious. She's so mental. She's actually funny. But go ahead, Dr.
Oh my
Atusa.
God. Yeah, a lot of mental people are going around in different spaces, and yeah, that's a new thing, to be more neurotic and more mental, and to support the powers that be. That's the new in. people like Laura Loomer and the like, the more neurotic and crazy you are, the closer you are to the Trump administration. And that's pretty much what it is. But, going back to the sanction situation and the conversation with Mango, the thing is, if you look at the history of sanctions, right, you can always like jump around the hoops and try to justify it or have some rationale for it. But if you look at the reason why the US sanctions certain countries, it's generally speaking to bring them to their knees so they can basically finally succumb to US policies and become another whatchamacallit, a slave country to the US, right? Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, even in South America.
But that has
But
never happened, right?
anyways, I'm going to continue and not really validate
No,
you
but you just made a
stopping me.
claim that
Like,
the
you know
United
what? I
States
have at
does
least the
something.
tolerance
Or
to listen
hold
to
on, hold
your
on. If you're going to make
shenanigans
a
and not
claim,
cut
let
you
me ask
off,
you a simple
right?
Wait,
Have
question. The
some
wait,
United
sense of
States
decorum.
uses
Have some sense
sanctions.
of
Let her finish her point.
decorum
1 second.
and
Let her finish her point.
logic and
You need to
sense of
not crash out, lady.
decency.
Okay, Manko,
Nobody's
you need to let
crashing
her.
out. Nobody's
Manko, you
crashing
need to
out.
let her finish her
This is
point,
the
right? You
voice
can't
of
interrupt.
reason, logic, integrity, and righteous indignation. Just like Jesus threw the money changers, I'm throwing the money changers on Mango. Right? You like it? I think that's your language, isn't it? Anyways, it's really funny that he has no tolerance for certain voices in this space. And as soon as, we come up and we start to speak, he has to cut you off. That's the spirit of
I didn't cut you
censorship.
off. I asked you a
That's the sense.
question.
No, you need to even like, I hadn't even made a point yet. I was just starting to bring some historical, sort of relevance, right? But then you cut me off, and you've done that before. You've done that before, and I say that so you have more awareness about your own
You could have just
conduct.
answered the question and then continued. It's
What
not
is
hard.
your question? What is your question? Okay,
So,
go
so
ahead.
you said the United States uses sanction to bring countries to their knees so that they'll obey the United States.
Mhm.
And I said, but that's never happened, right? Like all the
Why
countries
not?
we've sanctioned, none of them have ever actually complied with us, right?
And you're telling me that I said bring them to their knees, number one. Haven't we destabilized Libya? Is that a country now? They used to have free education. They used to have free housing. They used to have free healthcare. And what do they have now? It's a destabilized state. It's chaotic. It doesn't have a central government. And what about Afghanistan? I mean, we were there for 20 years. And then we went there to fight the Taliban and Al Qaeda and da. And then we left, putting what you call it, Taliban back in power. So
Dr.
that's the
Athusar, do you know
intention.
what it is?
That's the
I tell you what it
intention.
is. When
Mm.
you talk about bring a nation to its knees, you're saying
Okay.
basically mass killing, hurt the country,
Yeah,
hurt the economy,
exactly.
destroy it.
Yeah, yeah.
When Manco hears bring a country to its knees, he's talking about succumb to America, bend the knee to America. That's where
Okay.
he misunderstood
Yeah,
you.
yeah. So
That's why
yeah.
he said that's never happened before, because he's
Thank
thinking,
you.
well, they didn't bend the knee to America. When's that happened? No, Cuba didn't, Iran didn't, Libya didn't, none of these countries have.
Right.
He's right. And you're right, Dr.
Yes.
Athusar.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So if I came across as if like they eventually obey the US, no. They eventually don't obey the US, right? But that's the intention. The intention is they're hoping that they place a government in Iraq. Who was the first president that they basically put in Iraq? He lived in the US. So the US is hoping that these countries become a vassal state for the US, but then it kind of doesn't happen. But that doesn't negate the intention behind sanctions, which is destroying a country economically, destroying the infrastructure, destroying the educational system. sovereignty, in independence. So in a sense, destabilizing, etc. So that has happened in all of those countries that the US has sanctioned. What about Haiti? Like, we've destroyed Haiti, right? With all the sanctions and the rest of it. We've done that in South America. I mean, even our beloved, not so beloved, I actually hate her guts, Hillary Clinton, she pulled the same thing in Honduras. So we've done it. That's our MO.
I know, but you know what? It's easy to say beloved when you actually think about Trump right about now. But yeah, I hate her guts as well.
Well, I mean, honestly, one of the things that honestly, when Hillary ran against Trump, I voted for Bernie Sanders. I wrote in Bernie Sanders. I didn't believe in either one of them. But do you know that amongst independents like myself, the internal memo that was being exchanged, even though a lot of us just wrote Bernie Sanders or Jill Stein or whatever, we kind of thought that actually Hillary would be a warmonger more than Trump is. That was the common knowledge, right? And so this thing about Republicans versus Democrat, to me, it's a non-issue. It's ridiculous. It's like elementary way of debating. There is no Democrat Republican. Yeah, they are gonna pretend like they I mean, today Solly posted something about Bernie Sanders. How many of us thought that he was a just guy and he had integrity? But you know what? During COVID, because of my personal opinions about COVID, that's when I realized who he is for real. Like, you could say all the right things, but when it gets to the bottom of it, they all are there for power. They don't want to lose their seat. So they would shake hands with whomever would keep them in power. And on the surface, they're going to pretend like they're for justice and fairness and the least of these, etc., etc. But today, with that post that Sully posted, it all came to 100% understanding for me, even who Bernie is. And when it came to the COVID mandates, when it came to, someone was talking about Turkey also, suffering economically during COVID. That was by design. The lockdowns, meanwhile, the tech companies and the big pharma and the politicians made millions and billions of dollars when certain countries actually were suffering, and most individual, the average person was suffering financially. It's all by design. To think differently is naive. And as soon as Trump won the second term in 2024, I was obviously following a lot of podcasters, the independents, the MAGA, the Maha people, and looking at their posts, etc. I think it was the second week of Trump's presidency, if I'm not mistaken. And he invited Larry Ellison from Oracle. And he invited Alex Karp from Palantir. And you know what they did and what that was about? All the data centers and the AI infrastructure. For what? For this precise moment when Beatrix was talking about that Israelis and the US government are now actually partnering overtly. It's no longer a covert oneness in terms of their defenses and intelligence, etc., etc. Now it's all out in the open, normalized, that the US and Israel are going to share all this technology, all this data and AI infrastructure in defense, in technology, in medicine, etc. But that seed was planted during the second week of Trump's administration when he invited. And then I was looking and to see if anybody noticed. Nobody was, like, the biggest names weren't even posting about it. I posted it in my Instagram, and I think that totally brought my shadow ban to a different level completely. Like, since COVID on Instagram, my account has had 3,200 people. It has not moved. It has moved a little bit. Like, the level of shadow band. Now, this is where we are at. This is where we're at, and I think the over time was mentioning we have to find out how do the Israeli backers in the U.S. government are funding their sort of propaganda, etc. Well, it's not just APAC, and me and Joe had this conversation a while ago, and I wish that he was here. But it's not just APAC. Have you heard of NORPAC?
Oh my God, don't say that. You wish he was here? Like, seriously, let him live in the tunnels forever,
That's hilarious.
Jonah.
That's hilarious. Yeah, so there is NORPAC, North Jersey PAC. It's a bipartisan Israeli funded in 1994 and supports candidates on both sides of the aisle. The other one is Democratic Majority for Israel, supports pro-Israel Democrats. The other one is RGC PAC and Victory Fund, and it's mainly to support the Republicans, etc. There is the Republican Jewish Coalition. There is, obviously, everybody knows, the J Street PAC, joint, and then the other one, Joint Action Committee for Political Affairs, and that is a funded pro-Israeli thing that mainly supports the Democratic candidates. Then you have the U.S. Israel PAC, contributes to both parties. And then you have the To Protect Our Heritage PAC, which is in Chicago, based in Chicago. And they support, I believe, more Democrats than the Republicans. Then you have the Florida Congressional Committee. And then you have Anti-Defamation League. And then you have American Jewish Committee. And then, okay, so it's like an octopus that has its tentacles everywhere, deep in the system. So deep, so deep that if you think that you have enough time to form associations and organizations to neutralize these tentacles of this octopus in the system, in our system in the US, we don't have that much time. There is no time, in fact. I would say that it's a lost game as far as that's concerned. And it's, unfortunately, the system has to be brought down, not violently, and a new system has to be put in place. That's how I look at, that's how I see it. So the fact that now US is going to contribute 150 billion or whatever, I mean, that has been happening covertly. Now it's going to be done overtly, just like everything else has normalized. Like you have normalized blood drinking of children, you've normalized raping kids, you've normalized transgenderism, you've normalized gender, the confusion. Why? Because you're putting it in the education system, right? You've normalized massive killing and carpet bombing of nations because everybody watched and sat down and watched it happening. We've normalized human sacrifice in the name of war and in the name of terrorism and right? And people have become numb. People have become dumbfounded, and they're just, to me, they walk like robots. To me, they're like zombies, right? They have been basically stripped from their humanity. Over centuries, they've been programmed and brainwashed by certain dogma that they considered normal and they consider normal. And that's the state of humanity. That's the state of humanity. The only also path for humanity forward is to get rid of the current systems and replace it with the just system. How it's done, I don't know. Maybe it's a third world war or the fourth world war. I think we are in the third world war. I'm 100% sure this is the third world war. Ukraine is a proxy war of Europe against Russia, and Iran is a proxy war for the U.S. and Israel, and their players in the Gulf against Iran. And if this thing escalates, I only see that this is going to become to be a World War III. And maybe that's the only way out. Maybe that's the only way out. I don't know. I'm just hoping that all is done in the good of all, and with the the least amount of violence. And but I don't know. I don't know. And this deal, it's becoming a joke. Like one day there is a deal, the next day there is no deal, and the strait is open, strait is closed. It's the chaos and confusion designed by only dark forces, I would say. Only dark forces, not God, is for chaos and confusion. God is for order. God is for light. God is for transparency, not what we're being thrown at. Like today's deal, there is, I mean, and with that, I land my rant, and I hope that it wasn't too much. I will answer any questions that you have at this point.
It's never too much, Dr. Ritu, so you're a chick. It can never be too much from a chick. What I will say is, if the dark forces had their way, this deal, the strait is open, the strait is not, that's just coming from Trump, and nobody's taking him seriously anymore, right? I think the strait is open, but for those who obey the rules that have been put down between mutual agreement of Iran and Oman. And the thing is, that's the way it is. And that's the way I believe is going to stay. So for Trump, I think he's a bit confused what it means, but yeah, and hence the confusion. But appreciate you, Dr. Ratusa. Let's go to True Maga. Welcome, Doc, as well. True Maga, jump in. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, just real quick, thank you. So I mean, you guys are making it clear that. So I mean, it was Trump's first term. He was like the warp speed, and then after Biden came in, it was rolling out 5G. I don't know if they're just like in on it together, like you say, right? So then we're all locked down. They're putting 5G all over the place, especially on top of like near hospitals, and then people are saying they can't breathe and all this stuff, and now we've gone all the way to Palantir and these AI centers. So my question is, if anybody can answer, does the AI centers, they definitely needed the 5G? I think that's because I was wondering, why do they need this 5G so bad? I mean, they kept saying it's to speed up our data on our phone, but I think they're coming up with a 6G too. And some guy said that actually can tap into your brain. The 5G taps into your oxygen cells. As far as like the frequencies that it's running can affect the blood cell on your oxygen molecule. That's what makes it hard to, it separates when you're trying to breathe, so the oxygen doesn't get into your lungs. I mean, I just heard this theory. I mean, it's just all my opinion, but I'm just saying these AI centers, like, go ahead.
May I jump in and answer some of these points? So 5G Act of 2020. Go and look at it. When the lockdowns happened, by the end of March of 2020, you just put in your Google search right now, 5G Act of 2020. That is when the Congress passed the bill, as everybody was under lockdowns in mid-March of 2020, that the tech companies can put their 5G towers indiscriminately anywhere they want it. But of course, if it's a public facility, the city, the city has to approve it, and most cities approved it. Some cities haven't. And also in residential areas, including on top of schools, elementary schools, high school, churches, for as long as that entity, meaning the church, the school, would allow it. But then there were provisions that it has to be monetized, meaning if you put your 5G tower on top of the roof of an elementary school, you have to pay that elementary school, obviously, because you're a private entity with your 5G towers and you're making a huge amounts of money. So obviously, and this actually happened everywhere in LA, to the degree that a lot of people were experiencing radiation toxicity. And this is a proven fact. Now, I was so entrenched in this because I'm in the healthcare sphere, right? And I was involved with the Children's Health Defense. And suddenly, simultaneous with COVID in 2020, we were getting, like, meaning when I say we in the healthcare arena, we were getting like all kinds of weird symptoms that it wasn't really COVID, and it wasn't amongst the elderly. It was amongst young and the middle age, like working class, right? Or students, etc., like students in college and, high schools and etc., and universities. And these symptoms were such as dizziness, vertigo, palpitation, chest pain, cyanosis. The worst cases had cyanosis, meaning their fingers were cold and bluish in color or purplish, or signs of hypoxia in the nails, fingernails, clubbing. The nails become club-like a spoon-like. And it's a sign of hypoxia. And we were like, what in the world is happening? And so that's when I started, and this was like I started researching this towards the end of 2020, because all of these cases were coming through the whole 20, like from, I will tell you, from April towards the end of 2020, I was getting these cases, and afterwards. But it was only towards the end of 2020 that I started my research. And the more I looked into it, the more I was getting research, peer-reviewed research articles on PubMed, which is a NIH public library of research internationally, like many countries, etc., upload their research approved by NIH into PubMed. And I just came across all these articles about electromagnetic radiation and the effects of 4G and 5G. And I knew it. And then I started researching, did something change with 5G towers? Because I was also noticing them everywhere. And lo and behold, this is when I found 5G Act of 2020, which was passed towards the end of March of 2020. And so all those articles in PubMed, yes, they point out to the effect of polarization of the red blood cells, changing the diameter of the red blood cells, changing the capacity of the oxygen carried by the red blood cells, and free radical formation. And this is just electromagnetic radiation by the 5G tower. This is not you putting your cell phone to your ear, right? No, it's not that. It's just you're in the near vicinity of a 5G tower, and these are the effects that can happen, or a 4G tower for that matter. But all of this data was removed in 2021 when I was trying to reference them in different articles or in different interviews that I was getting, and also for Children's Health Defense. They were removed from the PubMed. A lot of them were removed. And also, Bobby Kennedy, that I'm not so happy with anymore, but at the time, he also sued the FCC. He sued the FCC for allowing the tech companies to put in their 5G towers indiscriminately in residential areas without enough research to the effects, the negative effects of 5G tower on human systems. And he won. He won the case. Supreme Court granted him a win for the case on the basis of tech companies need to do more research. So had he filed the case and asked the FCC to do a ruling to remove the 5G towers, he wouldn't have won, because then he had to present research. So instead, what he did, he said there is not enough research, so FCC has to do this ruling, and they did. The Supreme Court ruled on behalf of his lawsuit. But did the tech companies do any research? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They have not. And so this goes hand in hand with the AI data centers, with the ensuing the intention of the digital IDs, face recognition, etc., and security, like Larry Ellison with from Oracle, is on a video, and you could look it up. He's talking about, and this is a few years ago. This is not a recent thing. A few years ago, during Biden's administration, he was talking about how these AI technology and the data centers, etc. One of the reasons is security. Like, we will watch you everywhere, in every intersection and every this and that, and if you do something against the law, this will bring down the crime rates. And this was his justification. So yes, this is the AI controlled grid that is coming. It's already here. Now, whether or not we comply, just like we told you not to comply with the lockdowns and the COVID vaccinations, etc., because it's up to every individual. Every single individual, the solution is non-compliance. That's why COVID shots are dead now, because of people like me, that 10 to 30% of loud voices who have the courage to educate communities not to comply. So that's it. They're coming up with their digital whatever grid and control grid, and you either comply or you don't comply. If you comply, then you take the, that everything they tell you, even that thing that is the size of a grain of a rice that you put under your skin, and that becomes your ID, that has access to your bank, to your passport, to your ID card, everything, right? And in some countries, some people have opted in for it, actually. So yeah, so I hope that answered your question. But for sure, there is health negative effects that electromagnetic radiation, including 4G and 5G radiation, has on human health, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. That was tremendous. But there used to be, I found a sign that on a post that said it'll give you flu-like symptoms if you get near this thing. Now, just listen to that. I mean, this is so ridiculous. Flu-like symptoms. What is COVID? Flu-like symptoms. What was COVID? In my opinion, a flu. But they wanted to lock us down and play a game. They started with Patriot Act. All didn't do anything. We're taking our shoes at the is ridiculous. Okay, so we're just going farther and farther and farther, and they keep saying it's national security. This is national security. That's what they're going to say. So I'm just so glad you guys are talking about it. I don't want to say it's not national security, but you got to see both sides, people. I mean, listen up. It's just important.
Thanks, Trumaga. Appreciate it. And look what you did, Dr. Athusa. I told you not to mention him. Did I not?
Is Joe up here?
Welcome, Joe. Just a quick one, guys. Joe has come a bit late though. Guys, just a quick one. If you're on the second channel, I've put the link of the moral resistance channel. We're moving there in a minute or two. So you can click on that link and come across. I'll be ending that channel in about 30 seconds to a minute. So just come across to the moral resistance channel. George, do you want to add anything as a quick one?
Yeah, I mean, real quick. Look, there's evidence that ambulances actually cause a majority of deaths, because every time when you see someone who's sick and dies, there's an ambulance there. And ice cream also kills people, because the months when most ice cream is sold is also when there's the most heat strokes. Why is that? Maybe because it's the hottest weather and people have heat strokes in hot weather. I mean, this is the problem with the way people analyze and why things are removed from PubMed, because it's ridiculous investigation that makes zero sense. Because ice cream doesn't kill people and neither does ambulances, but I can show you data that an ambulance is always present at deaths. So ambulances therefore cause deaths. And this is the type of shit that happened with COVID. And this is the type of shit that happens with 5G. And this is what happens with a lot of things. And if it can't be peer reviewed, it gets removed because it's idiotic research.
Joe, you know what's funny? There's a
Oh my
real
God, Dr.
example of
Tusa,
this.
the WF guys attacking you.
I know, because they have an elementary mindset when it comes to science, right? They're for censorship from both parties, both Republicans
No,
and
I don't want to censor
Democrats.
you. I want you to speak because
No, I'm not saying literally. I'm not saying literally right now. I'm just saying both parties, all the three-letter organizations, World Health Organization, FDA, CDC, they're all for big corporations, big agro, big pharma for their quarterly reports. Money talks, BS walks, whatever. And you two, like both Republicans and Democrats,
Wait, how
so
can you say
agree with each
Republicans
other. It's
when not
really
only have
hilarious
Republicans
how they
not done it,
agree with each
we
other
put
when it comes
RFK
to
Jr. in
censoring
charge.
data from PubMed and peer-reviewed research on PubMed. You both parties, and you're symbolic of the both parties, that you agree on this nonsensical programming in your mind, that you think anything that is not peer reviewed is censored. Oh yeah, so why don't you
I
just
didn't say
go and
censored.
become a
I didn't say censored.
pro-war, Joa,
I
become a
want idiots to
pro-war,
speak up.
pro-Israel? Because guess
I
what?
want
Because
I
guess
want
what? Censorship goes into voices that
Tell them,
speak the
Dr.
truth.
Tusa. Tell them, smash
but
them.
Dr. Tusa, I want you to speak up because I want everyone to know exactly what your point of view is. That's why I want racists to speak up. That's why I want people who are actually anti-Semitic to speak up. I don't want anyone to be censored. I want to be clear who to look at and laugh at. That's why I would never shut you up.
Nobody laughs at
So you're
me.
free to speak.
Only people love me, and people actually come to me
No, you're
and they say, I'm
100%
so
sure.
sorry,
Okay,
I
here,
got the
Dr. Tusa.
vaccine and I'm
Dr.
vaccine
Tusa.
injured, but still
Dr.
I have
Tusa.
the audacity to come
Dr.
up
Tusa.
and question someone like me. Joe, you got vaccine injured.
You
And you
you
still
you
have the audacity to
yeah.
come here and tell me people laugh at me when they should laugh at you. But in my good compassion
Why they
and
should
good
laugh at me? Because I was
humanity
injured
and
from taking vaccine?
Christ like light, I don't laugh at you for taking the jab. I just have compassion for you. But you come up here being vaccine injured and you proclaim that people have to laugh at me. How obnoxious and
Regardless if I was,
delusional you are. How
yeah, because
delusional you
actually,
are, Joa. Go
because
to where
someone
you
like
are,
me
go
should
to the
care a lot
cave
more than
and the
you because I
hole
actually
that you
was injured.
belong somewhere in
So
the
I
Middle
actually
East,
look at the
in the
data
Gulf states,
and I don't
because
try to
you're
make a name
so
for myself
afraid
because of
of
it.
being here in the US and actually do something to change people's lives and actually say something that can save
No,
lives.
people
Even
like
if that
you,
means you're going to be censored and you're going to lose your
people like
job
you
and you're going
made
to be laughed
people.
at least I have the courage, and I have the courage of and love of Christ to throw the money changers and people like you, the synagogue of Satan, laugh at me and crucify me. But it doesn't matter because
Okay.
I will speak up. Even if I'm laughed at, if I'm crucified, I will continue to do it. And you go continue, take your jab and sit next to a 5G
Mhm.
tower.
Are you
Let's
done?
do
Can I talk
that.
now? Okay. So now that you're finished speaking, now that you mixed five different things as if it's one, okay, when one has nothing to do with the other, the fact that I was vaccine injured actually makes me very, very interested in the vaccine and actual research. People who put up fake stuff, things that made zero sense, like self assembling nanobot technology, actually harmed us and made us look like kooks when we actually tried to fight the things with the vaccine, right? Because I didn't have a problem with the vaccine. I had a problem that people weren't informed and that it was mandated for everyone, right? Certain people, it actually helped. It didn't help everyone. Kids shouldn't have taken it. People who didn't have diabetes shouldn't have taken it. Anyone under 60 shouldn't have taken it. And I've been saying that since day one. But then I don't invent things like, oh, there were so many other technologies, da, da, da. And you come up here constantly and go, Israel controls America. America does not control Israel. Da, da, da. I'm 100% sure.
She's right. She's right
Show
about
me
that.
proof. Show me proof that America doesn't control Israel at all. Because I can show you proof that it does. and I can show you proof that Israel controls America. I can show proof from both sides. But no, you look at everything with a bias and you say Israel 100% controls America. America does not control Israel. And you get upset and call me names when I actually call it the truth. And you can have proof for either side. You have no proof that Israel controls America or that America controls Israel. You just choose the side you want to because you're using your morality to look at evidence instead of actually looking at data points and saying, actually, I can point out where America controls Israel and I can point out where Israel controls America. I can see both ways because there's evidence for both. But you're not evidence-based, you're morality-based. That's why you're a danger, because you're a doctor and you don't use science, you use morality. And that is a problem.
When did I
Right,
speak
and
of
it harms
morality
people
when
like
I talk
me,
about
and it
5G?
harms people
You
like
have
me
never heard me when I talk
who was
about the 5G
vaccinated.
towers or the COVID vaccine. What are you? You don't know me. You don't know me. You don't know jack
But
about me.
I've been up here with you
You
for like
don't know
9
how many
months. What are you
science
talking about?
articles and evidence-based articles I have been able to show evidence-based articles to a university who wants to fire me all the time because of what I
Yeah, I
say.
can show
You
you
think
evidence
they
that
would keep it?
ambulances
You
kill
don't know
people.
me. You
I
don't
can show
know
you
me.
evidence that
This
ice cream
space is
causes heat
about
stroke.
the war in Iran. It hasn't been about the COVID vaccine or the 5G towers. And for you to come up here and say that
I just literally showed the
that you
panel
know
that
my
ice cream causes heat
science,
stroke.
it's exactly a proof of who you are. You are a manipulator. You manipulate. You succumb to lies about a person. You personally attack people. You're the one who came up here and said, "Oh, I want people like her to
Dr.
come up here
Tusa, was
so
it
they
not
can
you
be
that called
laughed
me?
at. They
Was it
can be
not you
laughed.
that called me a
This
white
is who you
supremacist?
are. This
Was it
is who
not
you
you
are,
that called me a
Joa.
white supremacist, Dr. Tusa?
What is it?
Was it not you that called me a white supremacist?
Well, maybe you are. I don't know. I
No, but
don't
you
know.
called
Maybe
me
you are.
one. You called
Maybe
me
you
one
are.
last month.
Yeah, maybe you are, because
Okay,
every
maybe I
time
am. You
I
said I
came up to
was. Which
speak,
one is it? Is it
every time
maybe or
I
am
came to
I? Because you
speak
said I
about the
was.
war, you jumped in, you cut me off, and you started saying exactly the same thing. Oh, people laugh at you. You're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about.
No,
And of course, have you ever said that to some guy or someone who doesn't have a Persian accent? So I have the right to assume
me and
you don't
Menka
like
go
a
at it all the
certain
time.
race. You don't like a
It
I'm
certain
not
sounds
race.
like a
So
attacking
lot
you
of
yeah.
because you're a
misogyny,
woman.
Jonah.
Jesus. I mean, look, me and Menka go at it all the time. You think I'm attacking because you're a woman? No, I'm attacking because of your ideas. Has nothing to do with the fact you're a
You don't
woman.
know my ideas about the 5G. I mean, you've never sat down with me to look at my evidence. But you come here and attack me as if you know me. You come here only because I think, okay, whether it's the
Because I've been
freaking
hearing you for 9
Israel
months.
that controls the US, it's not about me winning my argument. It's about truth. So if you think America controls Israel, so be it. They're the same. To me, they're the same. And I was
Okay, but
just saying that.
you're
Maybe
flip
you won that
flopping.
argument. Maybe you win that argument. So let's say America controls the US.
Th-
Okay,
three
then we're
weeks
all
ago,
in deep
3 weeks ago, I was a
shit.
white
And we're
supremacist. Now
all
maybe I'm a white supremacist. 3 weeks ago, Israel controls America. Now you're saying America maybe
no,
controls
I'm not
Israel.
saying. Oh no,
So
I
which
didn't
one
say
is
that.
it, Dr.
I didn't
Tusa?
say that. You're
Pick
a
one.
manipulator. You're someone
You
that
literally
you
said
think
it
you
on the
can come
stage.
up here and just take one thing I say out of context and like prove your point. You grow up, Joa. Grow up and argue or
Jonah,
debate
Jonah,
on
Jonah.
content, not on
Cor- cor- Okay.
manipulation
So,
and taking things
well,
out of
the
context.
white
I don't
supremacist
So
don't
who's
give
been
a
defending
damn.
Palestinians
I don't
for
give a
3
damn whether
years,
it's Israel
the
controlling or US or
okay,
US
guys.
controlling Israel. Either way, this is this is how they're doing it. This is where we are, right?
Okay.
This is where we are, and we
Okay, guys. Sorry. Apologies that I'm being rude and had to mute you. Listen, I think it was a really good debate. Obviously, decent amount of disagreement there, and that's fine. Obviously, my views are very much aligned with Dr. Atusa. That being said, obviously, I don't think Joe is a white supremacist. I think he just disagrees with a wide range of people on a wide range of issues, and that's what we like about Joe. He does have different opinions. So, and I don't think he's a white
He's a
supremacist.
Krasenstein, though. He's a
No,
Krasenstein.
that's Hasbro. Okay, guys. The tweet is in the YouTube link is in the comments. Come across that. I'm just gonna end that stream now. So come across to the moral resistance.